this time, we'll reconvene into open session to District Counsel, reportable actions taken during a closed session. Anything to report?
The board discussed items 4K1 through 5 in closed session. There's no reportable action.
Thank you. This time, please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we'll hear oral communications. Anything on the agenda anybody would like to talk about, discuss? Seeing none, go to the presentation. This time, consider adoption of Resolution 2015-04 to recognize Paul Ord, our water conservation specialist, and awarding a plaque and gift certificate for 10 years of service to the Marina Coast Water District, please. And I do have the certificate here. I think we should read it in its full. So I read the resolution number. Resolved by the Board of Directors of the Marina Coast Water District at a regular meeting duly called and held on January 21, 2015 at the business offices of District 11 Reservation Road, Marina, California, as follows. Whereas Paul Lord joined the district on January 3, 2005 as water conservation specialist, and whereas Paul has compiled a significant list of accomplishments that have led to direct improvements to the district's water conservation program, customer service, support to the Water Conservation Commission, Board of Directors, and district staff. And whereas Paul led the effort to meet the evolving requirements in water conservation with special emphasis in landscape irrigation efficiency and developing large landscape water budgets, while his primary focus remains focused on improving outreach services to our customers through email, bill messages, direct mail, and promotion of district rebate programs. And whereas Paul's recent efforts on the statewide drought response assisted the district to meet the state of California mandated drought response requirements. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Marina Coast Water District does hereby express its gratitude and recognizes Paul Lord for 10 years of service to the Marina Coast Water District and wishes him continued success with the district. Passed and adopted on January 21, 2015 by the Board of Directors of the Marina Coast Water District, by all of us as you see here. Please step forward. Oh, no, I have a motion.
Move approval of Resolution 2015-04.
Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Jan. Roll call vote, please.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Schreiner?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. Thank you very much. Hey, let me come up here. I'm going to call the rest of that. I guess that's well, and then we have this. Thank you very much. Good job. Appreciate it. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, at this time we'll go on to the consent calendar. 9A, B, and C is on the calendar. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to pull out A.
Okay, I'll hear a motion on B and C if I can.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
And that's Director Schreiner?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. Okay, Vice President Lay, you pulled consent calendar A.
Yeah, I have a question on the check. And I don't believe that we authorized it. So I just, the last time I asked for the question and, staff supposed to got back to us on the explanation, but we never received it. That's fine.
So you're still expecting to receive it here promptly, or is that something that staff can get out to us?
Which check are you referring to?
59239.
Yeah,
Certainly we can ask.
sure, okay,
Certainly
all right.
we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then would you want to make a motion to approve it then? So no, we just,
Move the receipt and filing of the check register.
Second.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public on it? I forgot last time too, sorry about that. Okay, bring it back to the board, roll call vote, please.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Schreiner? Yes. Director Lee?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
No.
And President Gustafson?
I'll go yes, but make sure that the information is received as desired, please. Okay, then we'll go on to action items. And the first item is 10A, discussion and possible action to consider directing staff to prepare a request for proposals to provide environmental services during design of and subsequently to prepare CEQA documents for a proposed 2,700 acre-foot desalination facility. Okay, staff, something to report on this, or?
I don't think we have anything to report.
No, nothing yet,
but
just an open discussion. And,
happy to respond to questions.
okay, let's start with it. Want to go out to public first? Do you have any concerns on this first item that you'd like to discuss, or would you like to hear discussion first? I'll go out to them after we discuss it. Anything? Peter, you have any? Bill? Philip.
One thing I'd like, the A, B, and C, 10A, B, and C, I think that these three items need to be consolidated because I believe that not doing that is destining them to eventual failure because of bogging down and the constant dialogue that has to go back and forth between the three different, for want of a better word, agencies. I just believe that it unduly puts pressure on the district manager, and I believe if there was one group in charge of the whole thing, they can manage it more effectively if it was one item versus three.
Other comments? Tom, please.
Well, at the moment, I think we're that group.
Yeah, it's so early now. Is this discussion?
At any rate, I do have a few questions. I have provided them to the general manager. I would like them reflected in the record. I understand that, especially with a brand new temporary GM, the answers to these questions may not be forthcoming tonight, although some of them could perhaps be ballpark. But let me just read through the questions and I'll ask the board's indulgence because there's quite a few of them. So, first of all, I'd like to know what the project description itself is. At this point, all I really know is 2,700 acre feet per year. I'd like to know how many kilowatt hours per day will be required to operate a plant of this size. Would like to know who will pay for the capital costs of such a plant. I have heard estimates between $60 and $100 million. So I'd certainly like a rough estimate of that capital cost. Like to know who will pay for the operating and maintenance costs and what the rough estimate of those O&M costs per acre foot of product water would likely be. Would like to know if a loan for capital costs will be involved. I expect that's a question we could answer pretty quickly because last I checked, our bank accounts do not have $60 to $100 million sitting in them in reserves. If so, what's the rough estimate of the total finance costs and what will be the collateral for a loan of that size? What is the source of the particular funding envisioned? Another question is where would we locate source wells, assuming that we use wells to provide source water? Roughly how many source wells will be needed? That could be something that could be our engineering staff could calculate, I think, at least roughly. What type of source wells are envisioned? There's 6 or 7 different kinds of source wells out there with a variety of different construction costs associated with them. Where would we locate the plant itself? I believe we have ownership of 3 sites that I'm aware of, and there might be more. Certainly like to know how long it might take to do a professional EIR for this. Would like to know what the likely impact on the rates of our existing customers would be for such a project. And would there be any impact on capacity charges? There is a proposal under the next agenda item to include a solar photovoltaic system to provide power for this, so it will have capital costs. Like to know what those are. It will have operating costs. Like to know what those are. Would like to know how long such solar panels might potentially last before they have to be replaced and what their estimated replacement cost might be. It could also be, since desal plants require a lot of electricity to operate, as salt does not like to easily leave water, how many acres of solar panels we might need. We only have so much acreage that we could put solar panels on, and where might we place them. And then there, of course, would be an issue, if this is a solar-powered desalination plant, will we intend to run it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year? Because last I checked, for an average day, half the day there's no sunlight. So you either have to build twice as much power, you have to have twice as much panels to be able to store power, to be able to power it at night, or will we shut it down every day in the evening? Will we be using brackish water as the source water, or seawater? If brackish, we'd want to know how brackish, because we would be pulling up with that source water some of our potable groundwater rights from the Salinas Valley groundwater basin. Since, if I understand correctly the proposal, this is a proposal to serve the Ord community, I was wondering when the Fort Ord had approved this particular approach. They had previously approved a hybrid approach, 1,500 acre-feet of desalinated water and 1,500 acre-feet of recycled water, but to the best of my knowledge, the Fort Ord has never said, given a thumbs up to a strictly desal project. The reason I think that they approved a two-part hybrid project was just following the standard investment advice of never putting all your money, all your eggs in a single basket. Given the need for 2,400 acre-feet of new water over and above the Ord community's agreed amount of 6,600 acre-feet of groundwater, given that projected need of 2,400 acre-feet per year of new water was determined from rough estimates that were made by FORA in 1998 in conjunction with the FORA Base Reuse Plan, what makes us think that 2,400 acre-feet is the correct number today? I don't know. There have been changes in technology that might have lowered that. There may be changes in the Fort Ord Reuse Plan that might increase that. Don't know, but I think we ought to look into that, because I'd hate for us to build a 2,700 acre-foot plant and find out we're 100 acre-feet short. Let's see. I don't believe we have anything in our current budget, which began the 1st July 2014, to pay for any of this work. So I'd like to know if there's a proposed budget adjustment, or are we going to actually pay for this in the next fiscal year, or at least pay for the start of this work in the next fiscal year. And lastly, I think we really need to give our staff some time to answer these. I suspect staff and our engineers have some other questions related to this. I certainly hope that we can get some preliminary answers to these questions, because my concern is if we go ahead and approve an RFP today with so much uncertainty about the answers to these questions, the firms that might respond to that RFP are going to have to, in some ways I guess it's like asking for bids from an architect to build a house, and you say to the architect, I want a 10,000 square foot house. The architect says to you, okay, I'll give you a bid. Could you tell me how many bedrooms you want? No, I don't know. Could you tell me how many bathrooms you want? No, I don't know. Which lot are you going to put it on? Well, I don't know that either. An architect's going to give you a pretty high bid to cover all the potential costs, or he's going to say, I'm going to give him 3 separate designs and charge him for 3 designs. I don't think we want to go there with this RFP. Thank you.
All right. I just want to say quickly, I had a couple of answers to you on a couple of things. as you can see, it's only discussion, possible action. And those possible actions occur after staff has a chance to review what we've discussed and what the public will interject into. And always remember that it's a maximum 2,700 reported, but to start, who knows, it could be 500 acre feet, a plant. And it's modular in design. You're able to expand. And really, I envision an array of smaller windmills, because Marina is very rich in wind. I've been here since 1958. I know. And they're similar to the one installed in the East Hartnell campus. If you've seen that one, it's really cool. It operates at 3 miles per hour wind velocity, begins generating electricity. And they're really cheap. The carbon materials made on it, really light. That thing really goes. Check them out. It's really neat. East Salinas there. It's cool. And that's all I have to say. It's a couple of more things to add. Think about it. It would help. Go ahead, Peter. You had your hand up.
Yeah, for the last 2 years, I asked the former board, the former chair, the former executive committee, the former executive director to set, to place on the former agenda an item so that we can discuss the augmented water.
And you're our former representative.
And then I'll ask the board, this board, try to set up a meeting, a joint meeting with former board, so we can discuss the augmented water. We never did. But anyway, last year, for staff asked the district to prepare a rough schedule for the timeline on the providing the augmented water.
Good point.
So I don't think priorly reported to the board, but they did make presentation and give out the rough schedule for that on October 1st last year. And I believe that the district also make a presentation to Fort Ord on the the potential for the augmented supply sources. I think 2 years is long enough. Now we have to make some action to move forward. From what I understand, this project is not new. I believe the district started this project in 2002, and move it up. 2004, I have EIR adopted and move it up to 2008 when the KLM proposed a new project, and that's when they merged together with the regional project, and that project failed. So, and then 2012 we moved to our own project, and it stopped after the election. So now here we are after the new election. It's time to move forward. And a lot of questions you cannot answer now because the whole purpose of the EIR to examine alternative. You cannot say that you want to build X, Y, and Z, That's the answer. You have to have the consultant and engineer look the different alternatives, and from there you can make your decision on which the best cost to do. So I think it's time we move ahead with the EIR, the design build, to support the EIR, and then the consultant to prepare a financial plan, and those will answer on Tom's question, the cost. And if you go back to the 2008 study, you have the capital cost, the O&M cost, the power cost. So it's a matter of updating the information. So it gives you some idea how much the cost, and if the board were to take the action tonight, I recommend board will notify FORA that we go on the proceeding with the providing new water source, and then if FORA board happen to oppose, then they can get back to us and go from there.
Excellent. Yes. Bill, please.
I agree with Director Lay. We've done all of this before. So if we just take the documents that we've been working on for years and don't allow it to be lost in never-ending debate, we can actually get something done for a change.
Yeah, please.
So my understanding from 2007 on was that the joint project, the three-partner project of CalAm and the Monterey County and the Marina Coast Water District was primarily to serve water to the peninsula. And so to take that work that was headed for water to the peninsula and try to apply it to our local community, the Ord Community, it's a pretty small number of ratepayers right now. And we do have approximately, I've heard numbers between 4,000 and 6,000 homes approved with water allocated. The first 1,050 of those is in a development called Marina Heights. And I understand that they were talking about pulling building permits. I'm not sure that they have. But for this fiscal year, it was intended to be 10 building permits, 10 out of 1,050. So since that project was approved about 10 years ago, if we average out this spike in building permits, it's approximately one house per year. So if we continue at that rate, 1,050 homes, we may need some more water, approximately 1,040 years, I would guess. So I'm just kind of curious for our board. And during the past 6 months or so, I think we've struggled with the state mandate for the emergency drought requirements. And for several board meetings, I listened to other directors say that we do not need to adhere to the state mandates because we have plenty of water. We have plenty of water for our community, so we don't have to support the children's conservation education for water. We don't have to adhere to the governor's request to reduce water use. We have plenty of water, so that took really quite a lot of energy to finally adhere to the state mandate and to support the students' conservation grant that we have supported for the last 13 years. So I'm kind of curious for this board, what changed in the last few months to take us from a place where we have plenty of water for our current community to we need to move forward immediately on this project? What happened here?
I can
didn't really
briefly
hear it.
give you a couple of little scenarios. Well, first of all, we have to straighten out the record that actually this 3,000 acre foot project began in 2007 initially. That's what we had planned to do. It was our friends and neighbors, our loving friends and neighbors in the peninsula that convinced us to join into a partnership and create a regional desal when Marina was going to go on their own with help from the developers. And that's why we're now in court. Because I guess we don't have so many friends on the peninsula. But that's the actually, and many years later, here we are now with a project that was planned many years ago. And like I said, modular in nature. Could start out at 300 acre feet, could start out at 500. But let's get the process going because it's a 2-year process. You got to start now to plan for 5 years. You see? Go ahead, Peter.
So, you know, the supply of 2,400 acre foot per year is an EIR mitigation. So for a board doesn't have any choice. Either they reduce their development, reduce their land use plan, or have to provide mitigation. And for a board has promised to give the district, $20 plus million. And this time, they caught up with the money because you're talking about a 6 year for a with sunset. So that means average, they have to put in their account $3 million a year. And this time we need to start the discussion. Start the project, start the discussion. Are they going to give us the $23 million right the day before the sunset? Or are they going to agree to fund the portion of the capital cost along the way? And for the last 2 years, for a board hasn't made any decision. They refuse to change their water allocation policy. They refuse to talk to us. they refused to consider leasing the water to other agency. They did nothing, and we do nothing too. It's time we move forward and we notify Fort Ord. And if they happen to say no, I want to change the forest land use plan to deduct the 2,400 acre foot. Yeah, it's fine. Reduce the development. Otherwise, collect money and pass along in the construction for the EI mitigation.
Good point.
So a couple of things. I do agree with Vice President Lee's assertion that there has been some prior work. I will point out that the prior work that was approved as a certified EIR in 2005 is what's known as a program level EIR. You cannot build a project based on a program level EIR. You have to go to a project level EIR. But some of that work might prove recyclable for purposes of environmental analysis for a project. Certainly there was some work done in conjunction with the regional desal project, but for example, that envisioned its source water wells on the CMEX property. It appears that CalAm is on a path to occupy the entire CMEX property with its own source well walls, excluding us from possibly using those. So I'm not sure what project description we would ask an EIR consultant to work on and what alternative project descriptions to analyze from an environmental perspective. And I would like to give our engineering staff and our new general manager some time to come up with some of those, to become familiar with that past work and come up with some project descriptions before we ask environmental consultants to come out and give us a bid for doing that particular work. The other, another issue that gives me pause is there has been a rather vocal local citizen who has said things like, well, we can build this 2,700 or 3,000 acre foot desalination project and we can sell the water to the Monterey Peninsula and our ratepayers won't ever have to pay another bill. Well, that's a fairly rosy projection, which I think would turn out seriously false. First of all, no one's going to loan us money for something like that without a water purchase agreement from someone on the Monterey Peninsula and there's only three possible candidates. One would be CalAm. Well, let's see, we're suing CalAm for $18 million. What do you think the probability is they're going to want to give us a water purchase agreement when they're trying to build a competing desalination project themselves? So that probably wouldn't work out. There is the possibility of the Seaside Groundwater Master. Maybe they would. And there's also the possibility of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, if they could come up with the funding to support a water purchase agreement from us. I'm not, on the face of it, opposed to something like that. But if you're going to do a environmental analysis, I'm betting that you have to say in that analysis who your customer for that water is going to be. Now, if the customer is only going to be the Ord Community, we currently have 1,766 non-Army accounts on the Ord Community. The interesting thing about that is that the Army's agreements and all of this, when the Army gave the post up, when the Army gave some of the 6,600 acre feet of water away to the FORA agency, they also reserved quite a bit for themselves, and they also protected themselves substantially. And essentially, the agreements with the Army state that they will never, ever pay for water more than the cost of producing and delivering to them groundwater. In other words, they will not contribute a dime unless someone can convince Sam Farr to convince the Army to do so. They'll not contribute a dime towards $60 to $100 million for a 3 or 2,700 acre foot per year desalination project, nor will they pay the much higher operating and maintenance costs for such water, even though if we build it and deliver it strictly to the Ord Community, we'll be experiencing those costs. So you ask, Who will be bearing those costs? Well, that will be the 1,766 non-Army accounts on the Ord community. If we can get a solar field built and a plant built for, let's say, $60 million, that only translates into a capital cost. I'm not counting any financing, not any O&M costs. That means each of those 1,766 accounts would have to pony up just $34,000 each. Every tenant in Preston Park would have to pony up $34,000. Now, if the project costs more than that, it could rise to $50,000. What's the probability that folks living in Preston Park can afford $34,000 to $50,000 to support this? So I think our staff needs to do some serious consideration about how to define this project description, where we might find source funding. I'll grant you that maybe there's some grant funding from the state. Maybe there's some low interest loans. Oh, but wait a minute, $34,000 does not include any finance charges. So actually the cost could be higher if you have to borrow $60 million. Maybe we only have to borrow $40 million if FORA can come up with $20 million to give us. Nonetheless, the numbers are beyond the reach of the existing Ord community customers, and we have to face that reality. So I'm all for trying to move forward in this direction. My last comment is I do have to disagree with Vice President Lay. We have not been doing nothing for 2 years. We have been in negotiations over attempting in part to monetize our current rights to recycled water and to cooperate with the Monterey Peninsula through the Monterey Regional Water Pollution Control Agency's groundwater replenishment project. Right now we are giving our water to the agricultural community, wastewater, treated wastewater, and they're using it quite nicely for the Castroville Seawater Intrusion Project. I'm glad of it, but they're not paying us anything for it. And there's some issues, legal issues associated with that. We could certainly help out the Monterey Peninsula for a while with 1,800 acre feet of additional water into the groundwater replenishment project if all the irksome details amongst all the various parties negotiating for that could be worked out in a timely manner. So
those will be your comments for item C also, that talks about our financing and everything else. And Tom,
yeah, I'm not gonna repeat myself on every
I
item.
won't let you. Go ahead, Peter.
So I move that the board direct staff to prepare a RFP to provide environmental services for the design and construction of the proposed 2,700 diesel facility to augment the water supply at Fort Ord, Ord Community, and replace the 300 acre foot mothball diesel in Central Marina.
I'd like to make some more comments.
Oh, we can go into comments after we get to the motion. There's always comments. Do we have a second on it?
I'd like to just ask if the maker would consider an alternative motion of initially consolidating the three.
We can't right now.
Okay.
Can't right now. We have these agendized like this.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Public comment. We always take public comment after we do that on this item. Nope. Okay, go ahead, please. State your name if you want, if you'd like. Yeah.
My name is Michael Salerno. I'm speaking simply as a Marina Coast ratepayer this evening. The clarification of the last thing we heard, did he just say to mothball the existing?
We have a mothballed 300 acre foot plant that just sits right here next to
Right,
it,
so that
we used to have operational.
So part of the motion would be to eliminate that completely or tear it down, or
No,
I wasn't clear on that.
motion only do an EIS for 2,700
That's
acre
all
E
foot.
this allows.
Okay.
Yeah.
My comments on the rest of it, in no particular order. Simply as a ratepayer, I'd like to see some other alternatives on the table instead of just a desalination facility, which I think everyone on a gut level would realize is one of the most expensive options out there. I attended a meeting last year, a presentation by the former general manager, and this number stuck in my head. He said to add 300 acre feet of water to the Ord community, rates would increase by at least 30%. I don't know if that still applies. And as someone who lives in Central Marina, I'm kind of assuming that this cost will be distributed over other ratepayers, and that the water will not only be used in the Ord community forever. And the final comment about additional water to Fort Ord is, who has the emergency here? Certain jurisdictions have development ideas and plans where they need more water, but as a whole, we're not pumping near the 6,600 acre feet, as Director Moore has said in the past. So an emergency for one jurisdiction with their development ideas shouldn't translate into an emergency for all the ratepayers of Marina Coast. So, thank you.
I just wanted to comment really quick on that. Most of that, and a lot of the desal cost initially would probably be for the customers who would like to develop and do projects. It would be borne by them, what they need to offset whatever is available would be augmented by the desal. How big it was, like I said, 300 acre feet, 500. Most of the costs I envision to be borne by them as developers, contractors, and they usually do if the project's big enough. We're in the position to do that because we have that area. See, I mean, Cal-Am does not. And that's the important thing to recognize. And there is future development there and cost to be burdened by those who would like to develop. I can assure you that. I'm a ratepayer also. Trust me. No, and I enjoy Fort Ord very much. I wouldn't like to see you burdened either. Not if you have a groundwater supply already. And remember, we have a recycled water component coming also. We've already installed that infrastructure.
Is this public comment or?
No, I just commented on his several comments that he made.
So it's still open?
Yeah, it's still public comment, but there's nothing. We'll move it back to the board. And Jan, you had a question.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to piggyback on Director Moore's comments about the idea that nothing happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
There was quite a contentious 218 process. We had to increase some rates, if you recall, to keep the district solvent in light of some problems with reserves that we have because of a RDP project that took quite a bit of our ratepayers' money. We are also proud to say that we have a strategic plan for the first time, written and available to the public through the website. We have not had one before. 2007 was the last time we had one. It took a lot of work to get that strategic plan through, work with staff, work with members of the public. And the strategic plan in the first elements is to evaluate what kind of water needs that we have. So I know our former director or acting director, Brian Lee, was working very closely with FORA and some of the land use jurisdictions to develop those figures, to look at the timeline of when the water would be needed. 2014, we worked very hard as a district to get the budget approved through the FORA process. If you recall, in 2013, we got hung up with a legal interpretation, if you will, that FORA could veto the Marina Coast Water District's budget because of a contract. If you actually read the contract, you could see there was no word veto. There was no power of FORA to stop that process, to eliminate the decisions of the directors of Marina Coast Water District for their own budget. So there was a huge amount of a shift for Marina Coast Water District during 2014, but I still didn't hear the answer to my question to the other directors. What shifted for you internally to take you from a place of arguing that we have enough water for our community, that we don't have to adhere to state mandates because we have so much water, to today where we need to get moving on this project as fast as possible? What shifted?
May I explain?
Yes.
Well, there's one action coming by 2020 is the adjudication of the groundwater basin. It's mandated by state assembly, state senate. We may be told by a JPIA where we always get involved, Marina, on everything and always seem to be on the low end of the boat whether it's the Waste Management District, whether it's the PCA, whether it's this and whether it's that. You know, because there's a lot of connivance going around. And I've been here all my life since 1958, people. I know a lot of these people who you see big time in politics now, back in high school. But anyway, let me tell you this. If that happens and they create a JPA, they have the authority to tax you, everybody in this basin, tell us what to do, shut our water off and how much you can use. If you don't have another source started now, not costing you a cent yet, borne by the people who will need the water, I'll tell you that right now. And you're going to be in a position where your water will be told how to be used by another group of people that won't even have anything to do with your community, nor will they even care about your community. Trust me on that one. We experienced that already by going on a friendly regional desal project. Never forget that. It was friendly. It was voted on by the Peninsula people out here at the airport during 3 years of community meetings. We were 2 votes, Marina Coast, 2 votes. And it came out from the Peninsula that it would be the county runs the wells, Marina Coast, the desal plant, and Cal-Am, the distribution. That wasn't good enough for Cal-Am and Monterey County. They wanted it all, obviously. So here we are. Roll call vote, please. Tom,
sorry,
one more comment, please.
One more
Repeat
comment.
yourself, it's over.
No, I'm not going to repeat
Okay,
myself.
please, Tom.
So I do agree with you, with President Gustafson, on the idea that capital costs should be borne by the developers on the Ord community, if this is going to serve the Ord community, who actually cause us to need this water. I will point out that there are a number of entitled developments on the former Fort Ord today. In fact, I see some of the leadership from some of those developments in the room. And I'm pretty sure that they have been given entitlements of groundwater. Now, here's the little fly in the ointment. To date, the policy of FORA with respect to capacity charges, and capacity charges would be how we would have to capture costs to pay for this plant for the developers who cause us to need it. In other words, to cause us to go beyond 6,600 acre feet. But FORA has said capacity charges will be the same for everybody on the Ord community, no matter where they are. So some of these developments that haven't already paid their capacity charges, number one, we'd have to look and see how many unbuilt such homes exist in all the developments on the Ord community. We'd have to roll the cost of the desal project capital into that capacity charge, and we'd have to bump it up. It would be, I suspect, a substantial bump. I would love for staff to give me some rough estimates of what that would be, and then it would get charged to all of the developers who haven't yet paid capacity charges specifically for their homes, and that's going to affect their pro formas, and I don't believe that's a direction that they would be very happy about. I'd be happy to hear them comment on that possibility. I don't think that would be a direction they'd be very happy to hear about, and I'm not sure that that's a direction we could actually convince FORA to go down. So I don't know where we would be on that.
Thanks, Jan, please.
I'd really like to hear what shifted for each of the directors in the past 6 months. Especially Director Lee and Vice President Lay. They argued very strongly against supporting the governor's mandates, and they argued very strongly against conservation education because they said there's plenty of water for our community. So I'm asking what changed, what shifted in the last 6 months. And I did hear you, President Gustafson, I appreciate that, but I have not heard from the other 2 yet.
Roll call vote, please.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Moore?
No, for the reasons I've stated.
Director Schreiner?
No.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
And President Gustafson?
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll go on now to action item B, discussion of possible action to consider directing staff to prepare a request for qualifications to design and build a proposed 2,700 acre foot desalination facility to augment the water supply to Fort Ord community and solar energy offset project associated with desalination. But I'd like to add that we talked about other sources like wind. But so please, is there any discussion on this? Who would like to start?
I do have a question. We have 30 years of experience, just one individual on our staff. That's our new general manager. I'd like, since he's attempted to build desal projects before, I suspect he's been involved in a variety of capital projects over that 30-year period. I'd like him, if he would, please articulate the difference between and the advantages and disadvantages of design bid build versus design build.
Sure. Generally speaking, design build is for projects that are urgent. If you're doing work on the Golden Gate Bridge, you got to get it done. You got to get it done now. That's the type of project typically you do with design build. What you get with design build is you get a contractor who comes in who still needs they still need a pretty well thought out preliminary design report. To answer sort of the questions you're asking, we don't have that now. So whatever project delivery method the board chooses to go with, and I can tell you that there's generally three: design build, where you just simply hire a firm, give them a preliminary design, they give you a price, they go build it for that price. Pay a premium, and the less defined the project is, the higher the premium you're going to pay. There is design bid build, which is the one that public agencies like ourselves typically hang our hat on, where you design it with an engineering firm, you put out requests for an engineer, you design the project you want, bid it, and then you solicit bids to build it. What that does is it takes a little more time. It generally allows you to control costs a little better. It is subject to change orders, which the others aren't. But you generally get it built to your specs for the price that usually a little. And then there is sort of a hybrid where you would get a contractor who is basically at risk. And you would give them a, maybe not complete design, but pretty close. They would give you a guaranteed price. You would finish the design. They would solicit bids, not you. They would solicit bids, and then they have to build a project for that price.
There's another one too. I had been thinking, been in construction a long time, over 30 years now. And I was thinking that maybe a consortium, we get together with all the developers and those who really need the water. And we meet with them. Maybe there's a dozen people out there. Some of them are pretty big. Some of them might have some capital. I think they do. And we talk to them about building the plant. And they get together with a consortium, they're engineers. And we have a QA/QC type of a person in between them and us to make sure the plant gets built to our specifications and that. And gets built to their needs. What they need, they know what they need right away. And with a consortium of all the developers and us sitting in with them, keeping tabs on what they need to do and when they need to do it. And this way they would ensure to themselves that the water supply would be available. And anything extra after that could potentially be, obviously the water would be blended and we'd have it metered everywhere because it'd have to go through Marina's regular water source. But anyway, there'd be potential for us to get extra water, purchase it at a reasonable rate maybe, and offset any of these mandates coming by 2020, where we're adjudicated and limited in the use of our groundwater basin. I've been thinking along those terms. We haven't contacted because I wanted to get all these discussions done first, and then outreach again and see what we can come up with. That's what I've been thinking. It can be done. It's been done like that many times. The federal government does it like that.
If that's the board's pleasure, we'd be happy
Yeah.
to flesh that out.
Oh, sure. It's one option. It's just under the discussion. Anything else? Oh, public, please. Any comments on this item?
So
Nothing, bring it back to the board.
yeah, so I move that the board direct staff to prepare RFQ to design build a proposed 27 acre foot desal facility and the solar energy offset project associated with the desal project.
Roger?
I actually like your last one. There's a legal question about whether county water districts can do design build, so that.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm moving on. I kind of offered that one. I already know. Little problems here and there. It's like this discussion. We'll work it out. We're not spending your money tonight. It's staff time. All right. You made the motion.
Yeah.
And did we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please. One more.
So I just heard County Counsel say that we might very well be taking an action that is actually not legal. So I would certainly like to see a written opinion on that.
Didn't say we're not doing something legal. We're
Well, let's hear from our counsel.
We're discussing things. Is there anything illegal?
Can I hear
So
from our counsel?
who provided the legal opinion in October 2012?
I think Lloyd Lowry did.
Yeah. And when they came in, you were here when they awarded the contract?
No, the contract that was awarded was not design build, it was to do
Right.
feasibility study. It was not a design build.
Well, you
I have it right here.
So you haven't done the research?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give the definitive opinion, no. That's what I'm going to work with the general manager on. But there are options, like you pointed out, and President Gustafson pointed out.
Well, to design and build, it doesn't mean that we're going to do a design build. I don't see the two words connected. It means that all options are up.
So let me make a new motion here. So I move that the board direct staff to prepare RFQ to design and build, if legally allowed, a proposed 2,700 acre-foot desal facility to augment water, Ord Community, and the solar energy offset. If the design build is not legally allowed, then we go with design build.
Look at the other options. Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, okay, we're looking at the other options then. And that's a second, okay.
So just one last related comment. While we may be able, in building this, to capture capital costs from specific developers or a consortium of developers, once the project's built, once it's pumping water into the system, the entire Ord community will have the same rates. In other words, existing ratepayers who are currently paying rates based strictly on the cost of groundwater.
And you're coming up with that now?
I'm not coming up with that now. This is a legal opinion, long-standing, from Mr. Lowry, prior counsel to this organization. You cannot discriminate on a rate basis like that. You would have to have a separate system providing the desal water strictly to those developments, separate from the rest of the system. And perhaps counsel could point that out.
Part of the next item, I mean, that's.
Well, let's wait until the next item, please. Yeah.
It's just a comment, that's all.
Well, and along those lines, and following up with one of the speakers from the public, this is just for Ord Community. Those 1,766 ratepayers will bear the burden of this sort of pre-planning, right? I mean, we don't have it in the strategic plan. We don't currently have it in the budget. So this coming year, we would have to add or appropriate some kind of funds.
Roll call vote, please.
Director Schreiner?
No.
Director Moore?
No.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to C. Discussion of possible action to consider directing staff to prepare a request for qualifications to prepare a financing plan. Work out all those details. Discussion. Hey, we've heard a lot about it, and I'm sure staff is well aware of many ways and ideas to go about it. We've submitted other ideas, people to work with, contacts to be made. Your experience dealing with it, I'm sure you can come up with some financing plan. But if there's anything else to add that we haven't already discussed in there, please do so. Anything from the public on this? Good time on the financing. Any ideas? Any questions, concerns? Okay, bring it back to the board.
Well, same comments, right? We don't have it appropriated in the budget. It's not yet in the strategic plan until 2016. So we're leapfrogging over several normal steps for a board of directors. It's my understanding, and this is what we want to do. Can I hear from the other directors? You'd rather leapfrog procedure than follow a normal course of action?
So I move that the board direct staff to prepare RFQ, prepare financial plan for the design and construction, if allow of a proposed 27 or 40 diesel facility in the solar offset project. Open the RFQ for pure 60 days, calendar days.
Do we have a second? We do. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Director Moore?
No.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Schreiner?
No.
Vice President Lang?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. Okay, on to D, discussion and possible action to consider annexing the CMEX property, soliciting proposals for environmental services in connection with this annexation, and directing staff to prepare an application for submission to the local agency Formation Commission of Monterey County. Discussion. Staff, have you looked at any things there? You've got some government experience over there.
Yeah, we haven't done any environmental work. You may recall that in the past, we did actually submit our request proposals. We got a response, we awarded it, and then that person came back to us and asked to be released from the contract. And so we haven't actually done any environmental work. In case you're sitting there thinking that we did, we didn't. We started to, but we didn't. But this is a project that we've started to stop. There also is an issue that perhaps Counsel would want to discuss with you as regards to fees that might be due to CA from either CMEX.
Sorry, I didn't have this available for the public, but this is these are excerpts from our 1996 annexation agreement for marina area land with the county of CA. And the only reason I'm sort of familiar with it because of these issues dealing with the CMEX property. I think
Thank you.
may have more insight, but I just want to raise these issues with you for your consideration, and we'll come back with some more information. But and then the correct fee. But my initial impression is that if the CMEX property is to be annexed to zones 2 and 2A of the county, then there's you'll see it's numbered page 18. There's a fixed annexation fee due of $160,021, and then if Marina Coast was actually going to provide potable water to the CMEX property, then there's additional annexation fees due to the county, not CA. And that's reflected at the bottom of page 19 in section 7, 4, 4, 4, 5. So those are things I'm not sure that the general manager or the board was aware of. Those are annexation fees that the staff will be looking to come back with more definitive statements. Something that CMEX doesn't
Questions, comments?
So, what is the intended objective of doing this? Especially if we have to pay
Well, in the
$166,000.
discussion, I would imagine, since we're discussing it, probably to create a well field or potentially investigate it. I have some other ideas about how you do investigate with my past drilling experience, where you actually drill in hard rock to 3,000 feet. That I was hard rock drilled for British Petroleum. Now, you can drill and motors wear out for other reasons. But trust me, you can drill it through solid rock easily, trust me, and at any angle you want, or they wouldn't be fracking. Anyway.
So a follow-up then, if this is intended to give us access to the CMEX property, do we currently, I may ask staff, do we currently have any easements on the CMEX property? So we would have to put easements on there to do drilling. And last I checked, CMEX, for a substantial sum of money, has already granted easements to Cal-Am on that property. Is that correct?
So that's
Okay. So what makes us think that CMEX would cooperate with us and that we would not have to do an eminent domain proceeding, number one? And number two, what makes us think that we wouldn't be sued by Cal-Am for interfering with their well field? I don't know. Does council have any answer to that?
This is annexed, next property into the county zone to A, and presumably to possibly provide potable water to the sewage property. Doesn't have to do with access to the building or testimony.
Not right now, that's right.
Well, is in fact this to annex it into zones 2 and 2A, or is this to annex the CMEX property into the political jurisdiction called Marina Coast Water District? Maybe I'm unclear on the agenda item then.
Well, wouldn't you like
Which
to
is
see it in the Marina Coast, please?
But the board has pursued this annexation since 1996. This time we can close either close the option. For the last 18 years and keep talking back and forth. Here we can authorize staff to have discussion with CMEX, and CMEX can tell us no. They have other plan because their plan 18 years ago we built some hotel and visitor serving for their property. Now they can change their mind. They can tell us they're not interested. It is once for all, and we can close the annexation option. Instead, we will keep open.
Keeps going.
Assuming we will annex it. So that one the goal we can accomplish either way.
Please, Jan.
I would like to make a motion that we table this item to the next meeting. This is a 20-plus page document. I'd like to take a little more time to review and have time for questions to our temporary general manager and counsel, legal counsel, before making a decision on this.
Don't you think it might be better that we go ahead with this and under discussion, and then items like the review of that come up when they bring the item back, and then we're all more informed. But this moves it along, so we then get all the input and the direction.
Well, my feeling is this, our Marina Coast Water District staff has been working kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way, but as a skeleton crew for quite some time. And we've just loaded up a couple of RFQs and an RFP. So maybe the timing could be such that we take some of the pressure off and we as directors get a chance to look at this. I don't remember seeing this 1996 agreement before.
It's like 100 pages. So
This is just a supplement, yes, I understand. I've seen the, I don't want
So I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Oh, we have a motion and a second to table it. Any discussion from the public on this item? Concerns? Bring it back to the board.
Yeah, some more discussion?
Well, okay, discussion by just what you made a second. We're gonna vote on your motion in second.
Okay,
Table the item.
fine.
If you want to table it, why would you want to
All
discuss
right,
it?
fine.
All right. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Director Lee,
No.
Director Moore,
Yes.
Director Schreiner,
Yes.
Vice President Lay,
No.
President Gustafson.
No. Okay, motion fails.
So I make a new motion. I move that the board authorize the IGM and district council to contact the CMEC property owner to let them know our intention to annex their property, and then report back to the board, and at the same time, obtain the application document from LAFCO and fill it in, and then report back to the board at the next board meeting.
Do I have a second on that one?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Some more discussion,
Okay.
and the public might weigh in first, in case they do.
Discussion, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm still unclear, and I'll ask the maker of the motion. Is this intended to do the annexation described in this 1996 annexation agreement, which I will point out is not accurately characterized by saying that the district has been trying since 1996 to accomplish this. This was an agreement. It was anticipated that there would be a possibility at some point that the sand plant would shut down, that company would want to do some sort of development there, which would need potable water, and at that time they would pay these fees and we would become its service provider. But my question is it annexation a la this agreement, or is it to annex that property into the political boundaries of Marina Coast Water District? Which is it? They are two different things.
Well, I guess
The motion will be annex the CMAC into the service area of the district.
Into the political boundaries of the district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. That will, in fact, require LAFCO action. I'm just wondering if anyone on the board has counted votes and looked at who is on the LAFCO commission at the present time.
yes, I understand.
And who might be influenced by opposition to such an annexation.
I understand. We've got to know that. Jen, please.
And I'd like to ask staff, the next meeting is February 2nd, approximately 12 days from now. I don't know how many are work days, but usually the agenda packet needs to be prepared approximately and finalized 72 hours ahead of time. So could you weigh in on the timing of this meeting?
I don't see how this could come back at your next meeting.
No, I know.
Particularly if we're supposed to consult CMEX, which I think is probably a very good idea. But certainly we can get it on the earliest possible agenda. I don't think it's realistic. Thank you for that.
Could we modify that motion perhaps?
No, the motion is for you to report back to the board at the February 2nd meeting.
Yeah, whatever.
So at that time you can come back and say, okay, you contact the owner, or you could contact.
But we're not hooking a ball and chain these, Bill. Anyway, roll call vote, please.
Oh, President, I think Andy had
Public.
something.
Thank you, Andy. I'm sorry. We had to go to public. I'm sorry.
Not as a member of public, but as a member of staff.
Staff. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, this agreement that you got an excerpt from, this was an annexation agreement to bring lands into zones 2 and 2A.
Yes.
The zone of benefit for San Antonio Reservoir and Nacimiento Reservoir for groundwater use. And there were provisions laid out in the agreement for bringing the City of Marina into zones 2 and 2A at the time of the agreement, and then the city's sphere of influence included the Armstrong Ranch and the Lone Star property, which is now CMAX. And there was a provision in the agreement for those two properties to annex into the zone of benefit with the county at a future date.
I remember
That's
that.
this agreement.
I was on the city council when we created the Zone 2 and 2A.
Okay. So since then, the City of Marina has annexed the CMAX property. They have not annexed all. They've annexed part of the Armstrong Ranch, but not all of it. The district has annexed that same portion of the Armstrong Ranch, but not all of it.
That's correct.
So the action that you're allowed to take is to annex the rest of Armstrong or the CMEX property into the district's LAFCO boundary, but you don't get to decide whether they annex into Zone 2 or 2A. That's a county action,
There you go.
just to clarify.
Good move. Any other comments from the public on this item? Okay, bring it back. Roll call vote, please.
Director Moore,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Schreiner,
No.
Vice President Lang,
Yes.
President Gustafson.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going on to E, discussion and possible action to consider directing staff to present comments to the board on the review of the sewer study performed by the Seaside County Sanitation District. Staff, please.
Andy, you want to, if you don't mind?
Oh, thank you, Andrew. We know you're
the
capable.
author of the report?
Okay, so directors, as you're familiar, there was about a year ago you received a letter and a report from Seaside County Sanitation looking at a feasibility study for the Seaside County Sanitation District annexing all of the City of Seaside portion of the Ord Community minus just the CSUMB campus, because the campus straddles 3 jurisdictions, the county, Marina, and Seaside, and the smallest portion was in Seaside. And so they looked at the engineer who did their wastewater master plan did a preliminary study, and they looked at how this system was set up. Basically, if you look at the figure, which is on page 37 of the packet, you'll see that Area A is the current service area for Seaside County Sanitation District. It's the portion that's already sewered and served by them. Areas B, C, and D2 are the areas that are inland and uphill of the current SCSD service area, which would, if you put in a gravity sewer collection system, it would flow through there. It would flow by gravity into their existing system and thus be conveyed to the PCA. And then if you looked at the map, areas E and F, excuse me, are the remaining portions of the city which have existing sewers that were conveyed from the Army to MCWD. And if the SCSD were to annex those portions, the engineer recommended operate them just the same way they are today, and just put some sort of metering device at the boundary between Seaside and Marina and let them pay a fee for service to convey the sewer flows forward. So it was a feasibility study. It basically broke the Ord community into 2 areas: areas that do have sewer, areas that don't have sewer. The areas that don't have sewer that flow into Seaside, they recommended that SCSD annex those because it eliminates one step in the chain. And for the area that's already developed, they recommend you could annex those also into Seaside, just to add a level of complexity. But there was no discussion in there of cost or what the benefit to the customer would be. So with that, a very accelerated summary, you asked us to agendize this item, and so we're asking, well, now that we've given you the opportunity to discuss it, which I'll step down and let you do that next, what direction do you want to give staff is our question.
There you go. Who's up first? Peter.
So I move that the board direct staff to prepare a letter incorporate the points on page 34 and 35 for the board president to sign and send it to Seaside County Sanitation District, and also send copy to LAFCO and on the directors. That's my motion.
We have a second to that.
Second.
We do have a second. Public, have any comment on this? Ed, please.
Again, Michael Salerno, ratepayer. It's more of a question comment since seems like we're all going back and forth tonight. Would this in any way change the flow of the wastewater overall to the plant in Marina?
Not at all.
And then, so they would in no way reduce the amount of recycled water available to the district in the future?
Yes,
or who owns it?
Depending upon how the agreement works out, possibly, but it's approved, so we don't know.
Okay, so my comment, would be,
Potential we would lose revenue on recycled water and capacity of sewer wastewater flows.
okay, so my comment would be, why would we want to give away recycled waste? Every drop of water is so valuable right now. I can't understand, especially since we're looking at doing really expensive new projects, why would we be giving the wastewater away? So, thank you.
Quick point, we have negotiated the rights to all the recycled water on Marina Coast in the past, including other things that line, but those need to be worked out still. And we have a motion second. Bill, please.
I was just wondering, am I missing something? Are we giving away our?
No, we haven't given anything away.
That's
yet.
what I thought.
We're still in negotiation that. But the public is strongly urging to support us, to fight, to keep
Okay,
our water.
all right, I understand. Thank you.
So just to be clear, if we were to agree to do this, this would presumably give the city of Seaside some hook to claim the wastewater flows from areas E, F, C, B, taking it away from our available recycled water quantities. In addition, would it change wastewater flows? I suppose in theory, if the city of Seaside decided to build its own package plant and treat those flows and retain the water in Seaside, it might reduce flows to the Monterey Regional Water Pollution Control Agency. The city of Pacific Grove is working on a project to do exactly that, to provide water directly from their own sewage flows to some public park properties within Pacific Grove. And it's not beyond conception that the city of Seaside might try to do the same thing. I do have a question for the maker of the motion. You said send a letter containing the information on page 35, 34 and 35.
Yes.
Much of that is a summary of the report that their own engineer did, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with a letter to them saying what they already know. So I'm a little vague on what we're trying to accomplish with the motion, or am I misunderstanding the motion?
No, if we send a letter, we show that their report is not correct, their assumption is not correct, and then they can either revise the report or they can send us back other comments.
Okay, so I see an assertion that one of their assumptions with respect to area F, we make an assertion that part of their engineering report is incorrect. Where else do we have? So, okay, fine, we could send them that second to last paragraph on page 35.
Area E is assumption is not correct. Area F, not correct. So at least we provide a response to them since May 2014, and they can decide what they want to do, whether revise their study or want to meet and discuss.
Okay, so you're primarily concerned with the second paragraph on page 35, the next to last paragraph on page 35. Are there any others? I'm just, this is a two-page.
I like to I want to give some room for staff to look at and page 34 they can give some background information, and page 35 they can point out the error from the study.
Through the chair, could the motion, and I'll ask the maker of the motion for this, could the motion be to direct staff to appropriately select from this reported information those things that we dispute in the Seaside report and produce a letter for Seaside to that effect? Would that be okay with the maker of the motion?
The staff has authority to review page 35 and point out the error in the report and point out the incorrect assumption in their report and include it in the letter.
Right. That's what I'm.
That's part of my motion.
Okay. Right.
Just a question. Is the board taking a position on the conclusions of the report regarding Seaside's sanitation taking over certain areas. Is the
No,
board-
No,
So you're not taking a position on
No.
that right now?
no,
no.
Okay, we're just informing.
We will
them
in
that we
negotiation,
believe
exactly.
Their report was inaccurate.
exactly right.
Okay.
Please, Jan.
I think it would be helpful to SCSD also for them to know how much the district has invested into this area, and rather than just saying 2005 master plan has been completed. There's been a lot of work out there the last 10 years. So I think it would be helpful, don't you think, for moving the negotiation along rather than just saying, you know, you're making a lot of incorrect assumptions based on a 10-year-old study. Couldn't we point out what's really happening? And that would take more time. It'd take more staff.
It may come out with this review, I would hope. Anyway, roll call vote, please.
Is staff clear on the motion?
Yes, I believe so.
I heard.
Well, Tom added an addition to the motion.
I don't think so.
Didn't
We,
you?
I
There was-
clarify what my motion is. Authorize staff to.
Before Tom, you clarify because you had a
We
concern.
had anything that we believe to be an error.
Yeah,
That's correct.
error and incorrect assumption in the report.
Yeah, that's it. There's no biggie.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, you're basically disagreeing with the conclusion at this point.
Potentially. Let's look at
Right.
it. Let's review it, right? Isn't that what it says? Discuss, review, intend, verify, trust but verify. Roll call vote, please.
Director Schreiner?
To be clear on the motion, this letter is going to be prepared for the board president to sign, and then it's going to be sent to
LAFCO and all the directors.
all us directors
Sure.
and SCSD, all three. Thank you.
Should be.
Director Schreiner?
No.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. Got to know.
Sorry, before we leave this, may I ask one clarifying point?
Please.
I realize it's a bad time to do that.
No.
Too late.
Add it to your
Are we
review.
including in this, are we letting them know that the district is not necessarily agreeing with conclusions? In beyond just mistakes, errors, are we also putting them on notice that we don't necessarily agree with their conclusions? We don't necessarily disagree either, but
Yes, I think that's
Yeah.
a good way to look at it.
I'd support that.
Okay, we'll move on to F, discussion and possible action regarding district goals for 2015 and to update the adopted strategic plan with senior staff. Staff. That's okay, take your time, please.
I was writing.
Oh, I know, there's a lot to write.
Where are we? Oh, yeah. So what we were assuming or hoping, I guess, that you wanted to do with this is, since the original strategic plan in April was done between the board and, or among the board and district staff, senior staff, we would try to find a date where the board and the senior staff could be convened at perhaps the one-year anniversary and take another look at it, decide where we are with it. And I didn't know if you also wanted to include in that, we had talked about it, maybe changes to board policies, procedures and policies.
Right, I had indicated that maybe we could mold that into that day and some other things potentially. I don't know what the day is going to contend. I don't know what we have. We may have desal to discuss and environmental issues.
We can
CMEX
certainly
property,
move
you never know.
around some potential dates. We don't have to necessarily
Yeah.
sit here and decide.
Sure. So what are the potential dates?
Well, can,
Sure, discuss. Discussion.
I think strategic planning is terribly important in general, and I think we all agree with that. There may be significant changes to this. I'm not sure we want to try and mix. The board procedures manual is another sea urchin or nettle to handle, and that might take more time.
Yeah, let's
What do
leave
you
it open.
think?
You never know what happens.
So I'd kind of like to devote separate sessions to that.
Okay, sure.
That's all I'm suggesting.
So,
And then I would like to suggest that we give staff enough time so that they can, in particular, one of the first things we'd like them to do is to report on the status of the items in the general plan. We may have some complete, we may have some nearly complete by then. So I'd like to ask staff, how much time do you think you need for that? I don't want to schedule this for February 2nd and find you're not ready.
Yeah, please. Anything that,
Well, I mean,
yeah, it's hard.
maybe the anniversary of this document, which I believe is April,
Yeah, so I was figuring something as a mandate.
looked like it was just couldn't do it. I mean, let you know.
Sure, of course.
Next meeting. Wow. That's
Yes.
all I word.
Could
I know.
Could an update, though, status update, be prepared prior to that? You know, maybe in March,
Sure. You mean of where we are on each of the items.
where we are in each of the items.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Peter, please.
You know, for the plan, we can meet and talk in April. But for the goals, you have to, for some of the goals, like the budget, you have to submit the budget to FORA in March. So, you know, so one of the goals, you have to discuss before that of the goals. So if you put the plan in April, but the goal, probably you have to do it next month because you don't have time to. So I can think of the new goal we have to do this year is the urban water management plan, right? So we're looking maybe by December we should have the final draft to meet the June 2016 deadline, and then we need to have the board discuss it, what we want to do with groundwater act. The all budget need to submit to them by March. Oh, so they have 3 months to see it. And the new goal is additional new goal is the Zone 2C study. It's the new, so we have to be involved. And then the 11403 permit. Those new stuff not in the plan. So I think the best if on the director can have the goal and then senior staff and give you the goal. If you can have it and maybe discuss the goal in February and the plan in April.
I'm wondering if we could try and do this on something like the 21st of February. That would give staff.
Oh, that meeting is a report date on the second meeting in February. That we could set that time.
Well,
as
actually,
appropriate. I'm sorry.
That's not the second meeting in
Yeah,
February.
I'm suggesting a Saturday morning or
No.
a Saturday afternoon, so we devote sufficient time to it.
A pre-meeting.
No, to
Goals.
get update, and talk about the goals, and get it done.
That be our goal and planning session day.
Yeah, and
Oh,
get
I
that
see.
done in a timely way so that staff can do as Vice President Lay has suggested and prepare budget adjustments
Well, I was
in the
thinking of all
FOR
those
budget.
other items that they have to get for us. That I was waiting for Bill's answer on that feasibility. I wouldn't wish
So
that
I
schedule
understand
anyway.
What you're asking, I'm hearing two different things.
Yeah.
One is that we give you a report back on where we are, the status of where we are on the current strategic plan. And that would not be necessarily done in a retreat kind of setting.
That
It
could,
would just be a report to the board at a future board meeting
or emailed.
or anything, okay? So I don't think that's gonna take all that long.
Okay, good.
But
I think we could ask senior staff to divvy that up and get that back.
Just looking out for you. Yeah. I'm sure you'll let me know.
From that, yes, sir. And then from that, you would decide what you want to do with it. And I take Director Lay's point is the strategic plan obviously is a critical part of the budget. And that makes it, again, a very timely kind of thing to be looking at.
Exactly right.
And so it can't lag too far.
which was why I was proposing the 21st.
Right, I get you now. Yeah.
Just as an aside, I'm out of state the 20th through the 23rd of February.
What weekend date? Maybe. What is the last day in February? It's
28th.
oh, I know it's the 28th, but
Saturday.
it's a Saturday. Saturday 28th.
That
What do you
might
think?
work.
You guys, what do you think? 28th? There you go. KSBW, welcome.
Fora has occasionally been forgiving when we've been a little bit late with budgets, so I'm not suggesting we try and do that, but
Morning session?
Yeah, preferably starting at 900, 9 o'clock.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
And going till 12, certain time, and then if we need more time, of course, but tentatively till 12. Yeah. Okay, that's it. And did we have a motion on this item?
Well, I'll make a motion for that.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the public on our strategic planning? Okay, bring it back. Roll call vote, please.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Schreiner?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
And President Gustafson?
Yes, wow. Look at that one, huh? Okay, let's move on to G. Discussion and possible action to consider directing the general manager to prepare future staff reports in a new report format. And it is attached for everybody's review. Please, anything you have to say?
At the top, I see that there's a subtle change in the current one on page 43. There's a submitted by and a presented by. This under agenda item meeting date. Now we're proposing prepared by and approved by. I wanted to ask about those two terms. Who are we anticipating names would be there?
Well, when we say Andy does a preparation and then the general manager approves it, because maybe it's on a subject that they're both equally versed on. Something more, maybe know his policy a little better.
Okay.
Be able to say, no, we can't do it like this. Yeah, something, I don't know. There's many scenarios that came to mind right away with me. I mean, 1,000, I couldn't even list them.
And then the board members, how will we know who's going to present that item? So if it's prepared by, say, Mr. Sturbins, and it's approved by, say,
I
our
always go to the
GM
general
Coker.
manager. I always go to the general manager staff, and then
Okay.
he can direct who's going to report. Remember, it's usually the case. We were a little informal tonight. Andy jumped up and wanted to speak. We were getting approved by our general manager, but you know, as it usually goes.
So that's just detail.
Yeah.
We can let the staff determine. Thank you.
Oh, please.
Just want to ask staff for an opinion on this format.
I don't think it really hugely changes what you have now. I think what the intent was, and Director Lay, correct me if I state this wrong, but I think the intent was to give you a little more information in writing, and maybe a little less
Maybe to
information.
answer some of the typical
orally
questions we
to
ask. That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
It was a good idea, like he
as I discussed with you, if you look at a staff report from City of Marina, Fora, and most public agency, in the discussion analysis, they have, they consider 2 or 3 options, and you have a pro and con each option. Then you have the alternative for the board to decide, at least one alternative, and then. On the staff report involving contract and legal document, I'd like to have the district council sign up as approved form. So we know that the district council has reviewed it and sign up, so we have to ask that.
not a bad idea either, because sometimes we end up into that very discussion. Takes up time on an item. Please, Tom.
So one important thing that is in this format that we haven't had before, and that is right after the agenda title, staff recommendation. That is considered so important in the military that they even have an acronym for it. It's called BLUF, bottom line up front. So I like that, good thing. I've heard some additions, though, that I don't immediately see in this particular format. I don't have any particular objections to those additions, but I've heard them articulated by Vice President Lay, and I wonder if we could get some parenthetical wording in this format that says this is what we'd like to see in here. And I don't know if we could do that right now, or if Director Lay would like to provide some of that to staff and bring this back to us. just the reason I'm asking is so we have a clear record going forward of what it is under some of these items. For instance, you said you'd like to see some alternatives, so.
Yes, I have included in writing in my request, so just copy that over.
So you gave a request to staff that staff has that would incorporate that?
I submit a general request to you, and we discussed, I think, in December meeting, it's got the exact language in there.
I have to apologize, Vice President Lay, but sometimes when I get emails and I see all 5 directors' names on the emails, I don't read them just out of caution with respect to the Brown Act. One never knows when somebody's going to slap you across the wrist with Brown Act issues.
But you got the
But the general manager
agenda
has it.
item.
Yes, and I think, if I recall, that would be under the heading of other considerations. So,
Other consideration, that's when you give the alternate for the board.
right.
Yeah.
If the staff is aware of maybe another direction you could take, maybe perhaps a consequence that isn't obvious, that's where we would report that. We thought there might be something that wasn't immediately obvious. We would state that in that part.
So putting something in parentheses there like other considerations, parentheses, such as alternatives or consequences.
Yes.
Okay, were there any other, that's pretty simple, but I want to make sure
In
Vice
the-
President Lay,
In the discussion and analysis section, you at least give look 2 options. At least 2 options. We don't want just to receive one option and either take it or leave it. At least 2 options for the board.
Yeah, something to think about.
okay, can I ask a question about that though? I mean,
Like what?
well, off the top of my head, I can't think of a good example. I'm kind of a slow thinker at times, so it might take me a day or two, but I expect there might be some agenda items where there are, in fact, no other even remotely viable options, in which case they wouldn't be able to provide us with.
Then they will need to stay in the staff report. There's no other option.
Just Bill will let him handle it. I think he can figure that one out.
Okay.
It's a good experience.
What I pictured was that the staff would give you a recommendation. They would tell you things that have happened in the past that maybe lead to an action or lead to a conclusion. Under discussion analysis, they would sort of explain why the staff is making the recommendation it's making. And then under other considerations, deal with alternatives to this. Your other courses of action could be taken, or would rather go this direction. So you would have that. It would be obvious that you might take it some other way.
So if I can give an example, right? So staff make a recommendation buy the vehicle from Ford dealer. So that's your recommendation. So under the discussion analysis, you said, okay, I look the Honda vehicle, the GM vehicle. So, and then under other consideration, you said, oh, the board may not need to purchase. You can lease or rent it. That's how I see it.
And just to ensure, I realize now, I didn't want staff to ever get caught without an additional option. There is actually always one other option, and that is do nothing.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Just let us know.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah. Motion.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
All right. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Public comments? None. Bring it back. Roll call vote, please.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Schreiner?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. All right. Now we're on H. Last item, discussion and possible action to consider adoption of resolution 2015-01 to approve a professional services agreement to conduct an executive recruitment and placement for the position of general manager. All right, guys.
Well, the action taken at your last meeting
Yes.
was to direct staff to approach a firm from the ones that proposed last time. Staff did. That particular firm, which was CPS, declined. They weren't interested in doing it anymore. MCA, and they were quite busy. And so our HR manager did contact all of the other firms that originally were approached. And of the 7 that were originally approached, a couple, you probably recall, a couple rejected us right out of the first round. Two of the firms, 2 of the 5 that proposed are still willing to throw their hat in the ring. And you have the, basically you have the proposals from BHI and from Alliance. So those are the 2 firms that remain out there, unless you wish to go out again and throw it open. I would say those were the 2 firms that we know are interested.
Any discussion?
Well, just a question for staff.
Please.
So we still have an already paid for valid contract with Near and Associates, do we not?
I believe you're correct, yes.
Okay. So they would be an option.
There's a third option then, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we could go back to the Ord Associates and ask.
Okay, there's a third option then, all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe their guarantee was for direct costs only, so approximately, I forget the numbers now, $2,000 to $4,000 for this second attempt versus Alliance will be $31,500. BHI is proposing approximately $24,500. So the additional amount would be between $20,000 and $30,000. I like Alliance. They're a little more expensive, but the fact that they use the social media, the community outreach, the women would be our primary contacts who are multilingual. So the possibility of recruiting from a more diverse, broader spectrum of our community versus BHI, like that. And I also think BHI knows us really well from 3 years of a strategic plan development. So BHI definitely has, they know what they have on their hands. So I like their price, that it's less than Alliance, and that they have previous experience with this particular board and district. But that direct cost of only $2,000 to $4,000, I think is really worth considering for the sake of the district. Yes.
So I moved it for approve an agreement with Alliance Consultant.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comment from the public on it? Concerns? Okay, bring it back.
May I make a quick
Okay,
comment?
quick comment.
So this is the most expensive. This is the $23,000 plus $8,500 of direct costs, and we are considering this as our first choice. I just want to make sure. $31,500.
And if you can agree with my motion, also included authorize the board president and board vice president as a contact with the consultant for.
Of course.
Contact the recruiter.
Well, we would be the contact.
Between the consultant and
Yes.
the board.
Is that okay with the motion and the seconder? Okay.
A comment on that?
Comment.
I'm not sure what's envisioned there, but I would really not want to be excluded from discussions about candidates and so forth as a consequence of the president and the vice president being the only contact. So,
Oh, I don't think there would be any action taken, Tom. Never any action. There would be any exclusion or anything like that. It would be more procedural oriented in times and dates and things like that. And it would bring it back.
okay,
to you.
fine.
You
So,
have to meet with somebody first, Tom, instead of coming to the board and trying to work out these little minor things. That's why you have an executive committee. Okay? So it'll be worked out. You won't be excluded.
well, one of the things this recruiting firm will have to do is come and learn about all of us. And that's what I mean about not wanting to be excluded.
Sure, you won't be excluded.
So,
You'd have to come make a presentation, I would believe, here to the board.
No, they would.
Or they would.
they would need to talk with all of does. So,
It would.
so I'll just ask, will the president, vice president pledge as part of this that whatever communications contain any significant content that you have with them, that you will share it with the rest of the directors?
I would think that'd be easy.
They will interview 5 directors, but in emergency, contact us. But you will approve the profile before the issue. You will see the actual written profile, not like the last time. You don't see anything at all.
I didn't see anything last time.
You will see the. You will sign up on the
Okay.
profile before they advertise the position.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, motion is second. Roll call vote, please.
Director Schreiner?
No.
Director Moore?
I'm going to say no just because it costs.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Vice President Lay?
Yes.
President Gustafson?
Yes. All right, let's move on to general manager's comments.
Hang on, I'm so sorry. I meant to say it before, but I forgot. 47, page 47, in the whereas for that one we just voted for, it has a professional service agreement with blank for a cost not to exceed blank. Do we need to fill that in for staff before we go on, or do you fill that in?
That's just the format.
So the first one will be Alliance
That's
Resort Consulting in the motion, and the cost not to exceed as described in the proposal.
Yeah,
I
I would expect them, since the Alliance, to fill that in for us.
Well, I think Director Schreiner is simply looking for verification that the motion included approval of Resolution 2015-01.
Thank you. Informational items, general manager's report.
Don't have a lot to say. I know that you're interested in the BLM building, so you have some photos in front of you.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So just to let you know, the contract
Appreciate that.
obviously is mobilized. That's why the trailer's there. The grading permit with the city has been outsourced. There was a check on your check register to pay for that grading permit, assuming, well, not assuming it was passed. So that grading permit should be issued tomorrow.
Good. All right.
So I'll keep you posted on what happens out there.
Thank you. Council report.
President Gustafson brought up a good point about the new Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, and I would suggest the board that staff and I get together and come back with a report on it.
We'll have to, yes. Yeah, eventually. Thank you. Okay, Water Conservation Commission. Who's that one? Yes.
So I provide you with the report. I don't have anything to update.
Joint City District.
When is the meeting?
Oh, that's
It'll be next week.
that's next week. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Executive Committee. Nothing. We just put together an agenda. So they worked on this agenda. That's what you had, and you saw tonight regarding desal, like that. Community outreach.
I'm sorry, just a bit of a point of order.
Huh?
The executive committee technically is different from the duties of the president and the vice president to discuss the agenda with the general manager. The executive committee is a standing committee. If you say you had a meeting, then the question could be raised, when was that meeting agendized and what was the agenda for it? I don't believe we've agendized any executive committee meetings.
No, I just discussed with Bill. We plan to have agenda this Friday, possible. 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Right?
Yeah, you have
So
to have
you
a
can
discussion
agendize
to
So I'm
plan the
just
agenda.
trying to keep everybody out of
There
trouble
you
with the
go.
Brown Act here, that's all.
Yeah. Community outreach.
Excuse me?
No, what's the excuse? This is reports by the
For
committee outreach.
procedures manual violation
Oh,
for
no,
executive committee.
I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, community outreach, please.
No report.
No report. MRW PCA board member liaison.
Oh, no meeting yet.
Okay.
Next week,
And then LAFCO.
I've got no meeting until
Yeah,
next
yeah.
week. Oh,
And then FORA, that was the meeting.
yeah,
2
and I will
weeks.
find the report
That's right.
to all you.
Saw that. It was good. Water.
I'm sorry, can I have a question about that? I heard Vice President Lay say he will provide, are you
No,
going to
you
provide a
did.
I
written
did.
report?
You got your report. It was
I
emailed.
sent to.
You sent it already?
Yeah, we all got it.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but that's
I haven't
okay.
seen it yet.
Those kind of reports need to give it to the general manager, that needs to be included in the executive package, indicate it's available.
Okay,
So we have 3 or more.
yeah, we understand. We'll make that correction. All right, water wastewater oversight report.
No report.
No report. And JP,
It's next week.
yeah, it's next week. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're going to be doing that. JPIA
No report.
and Special Districts Association.
I'm sorry, comment on JPIA?
Yeah.
So at our first meeting in January, the board chose to appoint me as the alternate. I just wanted to put on the record that I've declined that appointment. The meetings of the JPIA Board of Directors occur during teaching quarters on a Monday. I have routinely been getting a Monday, Wednesday teaching assignment at the Naval Postgraduate School, and these meetings are not local. They are in places like Indio, and I'm not even sure I know where Indio is. Sorry, Indio. Down south, and there would be no way for me to get there and get back to meet my day job obligations. So, and I have so informed JPIA also.
Special Districts is coming up.
Last night.
No, that's right. It was last night. And who attended that? Anybody?
Tom and I.
Oh, okay. Anything to report on it? You gave it?
Yeah, they discussed about the sequence mitigation measure, and that's very good option for the district to look at.
All right.
Yeah. The discussion was by an attorney who's an expert with CEQA mitigations. He had a nice handout. Vice President Lay, will you share the handout with the general manager, or do you want me to get him a copy of mine? I'm happy to. Well, that's right. Since you were there, you got a copy and you picked one up.
She's there.
Our Special Districts Association secretary again.
He is the secretary.
Totally efficient. Just one other comment on that. Unfortunately, Director Lay, I think, as you can hear tonight, has a bit of a cough. He's probably got the same thing I had last week, and as a consequence, he left before the business part of the SDA Special District Association meeting was able to take place. So I was there. I could have voted on the business items, but the board has not made me or anyone else an alternate.
Correct.
And it might be a good idea. Otherwise, anytime Director Lay can't make it or has to leave early for whatever reason, we're not going to be represented
I'm
with
the
that
alternate.
organization.
I've been a member of that a long time. Anyway, director's comments. Tom.
Yeah, I would simply encourage the board to consider agendizing some reconsideration of assignments. I think we may have a small issue with the board procedures manual in that regard.
Jen.
Comments I made earlier about a skeleton crew, I was not referring to our line staff, but more that we've had a management crew that's been a little small over the last 2-3 years. So I didn't mean to reflect in any way of our amazing staff here at Marina Coast Water District, and I would hope that decisions that were made here on the board would not reflect on the staff as well.
Bill.
Nothing, thank you.
If the board has taken action on the diesel facility, so if we could, prepare a letter and inform for the board that we have taken the action on the EIR, EIS, and so they're aware of it. And
This, excuse me, I'm sorry, this sounds like a direction from one director. Was this agendized? Do we have an agenda item for developing a letter?
It was already an agendized item. He said.
the 3 items.
Just added something. That's okay. Well, okay, and I just want to thank staff for their hard work in preparing this agenda. Very good one. Appreciate it very